Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the first webinar of Applied Digital Marketing Strategy, a short course presented by IT Masters on behalf of Charles Sturt University. My name is Guy Coward, and I'll be your MC for this webinar and for the duration of the course. Your mentor is Andrew Mashman. Before we begin, just some housekeeping. All webinars for this course will be held at 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time, with recordings made for those of you who cannot attend on a given occasion. Despite the recordings, if you can make it, I really strongly encourage it. And we hope you'll attend the live webinars and contribute to a collaborative learning environment. We quite clearly use Zoom for our webinars and encourage questions and the use of chat during the course. We ask that you direct all questions relevant to course content to the Q&A section, and that you send all administration and superfluous chat or augmenting chat to the chat box itself. You can talk about tight dates and times and resource availability and all that, as well as flesh out what Andrew's talking about. You can choose to chat with particular panelists only or to your fellow students, and you can chat to everyone at the same time. And we ask that you do that just by setting your chat to all panelists and attendees once you open up the chat log. There's usually really experienced attendees, and it's going to be really interesting to see where everyone comes from. And most people will be quite helpful with any queries you have if you're sort of new to the subject. And often insights will augment the content that we're delivering. We'll have Q&A sessions at the end of each of the webinars, and if a question is particularly relevant, I'll just interrupt Andrew and we'll have a chat about it there. And then, for those of you who have never taken part in a short course with us, first of all, welcome. IT Masters is a training organisation that exists as a partner to Charles Sturt University exclusively. We work with them to create and deliver a number of their master's courses. We also market these courses on their behalf, such as right now, and hope that the best way to do that is to give some of it away free. If we do a good enough job, then hopefully you'll be encouraged to enroll in a full master's or a graduate certificate if it suits you. With that said, we hope this course will be useful and a rewarding exercise in its own right. We want you to learn some cool stuff, have a bit of fun, hopefully make some connections with the 1,000 other students enrolled in this short course and sort of get something out of it. Hannah is around in her usual moderation role for IT Masters, looking after the chat and making sure everything's working. Responsible also for the course page at learn.itmasters.edu.au, which is where you'll find all of the materials needed for this course, apart from the webinar links. You'll find links to readings and discussion forums and quizzes and the exam at the end of the course. If you have any questions tonight or later on, please feel free to contact us using the details you can find on that course page. It's time to welcome Andrew, a long-time subject coordinator and a friend of the short courses program. It's been, 3 years we were saying, Andrew, since the short course, but you've been busy with the master's subjects. How you doing? Nothing's happened in 3 years, has it?
I know, just can't remember what's been going on. Actually, there's been that interruption of that COVID thing, I think, that's been going on as well. But hopefully the world and certainly Australia is moving on quickly from that. And it's great to be back talking about digital again. And it's great to be working with Guy, who I've worked several sessions with, The Voice. And we've got Hannah there helping us out tonight as well. So thank you very much, because Hannah's done a heap of behind the scenes work to make sure my work's up to par and in the right place at the right time. So
it's great very much for that too.
Thanks so Absolutely. Much, absolutely indeed. And we've got a cool group tonight from literally all over the world again, Guy.
Yeah, Lucy just chatted in from Singapore. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really good. And I've just been through the attendees list, and there's a few familiar names down there, which I've run into in parts of my other educational life in different times. So it's really good to see those people getting involved in stuff. And one of the cool things about this course is that the digital space is moving and shaking so much and moving so quickly, is that hardly anybody can be the ultimate expert on it. And so there's lots of people in this group who you can chat with on the forum, etc., who will have absolutely awesome capabilities around particular areas in things. And I suppose the thing that I hopefully bring to the party, I guess we'll see over the 4 weeks or so, is to be able to bring the kind of strategic overview and give you a skeleton, which is what my template, which we'll talk about a little bit later, is going to look like, that will help you thread together a better view of what you're currently doing now, because many of you will be up to your necks in digital marketing, solving digital problems for organizations, digital transformations, because we've got a lot of IT stuff going on here as well. And IT is really fundamental to that transformation of organizations thing also. And just reading a few spills there as well. And so there's experts out there doing all sorts of different things. And I'm aiming to be able to pull a lot of that information together so that we can all grow from the experience. And that's what I'm definitely here for. So are you cool, Guy? We'll start to chip through the deck a bit and have a few chats about different things along the way.
Yeah, let's do it. Sounds exciting.
Perfect. Let me just get on the right screen with that one. Perfect. Thank you very much for that. So this particular course, and we did a digital session back in 2015, which was the first time I'd ever run a large course like this, which was great fun and covered lots of ground. I think Hannah might have saying there's about 12,000 people have done that course now, so it's been pretty big. But the digital world is moving a lot, and there's some things that exist now which did not exist full time in 2015, and we've also done a social media one in 2018. So both those courses are there. This one particularly, though, is for me all about having a little relook at things in a post-COVID world, because so much stuff has changed so quickly for people. And marketers, particularly, anybody who wants to communicate to another human being needs to be aware of that, because we've been in different places, we've been using different technologies, we've been living on different clocks, we've been interacting maybe with our children more through homeschooling and a whole bunch of things. So there's a lot of stuff which has changed in the world in the last 18 months for us. And much of that has occurred on digital platforms. So people have adopted mobile phones at increasing levels, have adopted the internet at increasing levels, they've adopted social media platforms at increasing levels, and things have jumped forward that would not have moved this quickly without the particular sort of macro impacts that we've had through COVID and some of the stuff going on around it. So what we're going to do over the next 4 weeks or so is put together a basic kind of plan. I've got a framework for you we're going to talk about a little bit later, just to help you go back and review the stuff that you're doing at the moment, have another good solid look at who your customers are and what's changed in their world, and then we can thread that together. And hopefully there's a few people doing some startups in here as well, and certainly in the digital age, startups are far, I think, more possible than ever before, from fundraising to getting your idea out there to finding like-minded supporters of your idea, your brand, your product, your service. They're out there. And so this platform is also really good for you guys who are thinking about, or everybody who's thinking about some kind of startup in terms of moving forward as well. So we're going to look at that. I guess the big thing about this course, which is the kind of quiet sell in the business, is that it's based heavily on some material that you can go to university to study. And I have to say, my personal story is I went to, I was an apprentice mechanic by trade at sort of 17. And that was the start of my life. But I went to university and did a marketing degree in my sort of early mid-20s, including a year where I got to study abroad because I was at university, which was mind-blowing at the time for me. And then I went back and did a master's degree also in my kind of 30s, later 30s or so. And the master's degree particularly, which is what we're talking about tonight, really changed my life. It opened up opportunities that, from where I am from and my background, I probably would not have seen. It would have been probably a far more mediocre existence than it has been. And so the wacky thing about studying a master's degree is, yeah, there's some really cool topics and things there, but the actual process you go through to learn about, researching and decision making and critiquing and all of those things is what will shape you as a human. And I honestly, from my heart, think that everybody should have the opportunity, and however you get to that point to get that opportunity to do a master's type study, then you should take the advantage of it at some point in your life. It doesn't really matter when. So for this course particularly, because we're talking about digital, it's based on two different courses. One's called the Master of Applied Digital Marketing, which we brought into existence a couple of years ago. And there's also a graduate certificate in applied digital marketing. And both of them are what they call postgraduate subjects, and hardly anyone knows what postgraduate is unless you've actually studied something like that before. But it means it comes kind of after your other degree. But the cool thing about things today is that nearly anybody can get into a graduate certificate based on your work experience, your work history, maybe other parallel courses you've done, maybe literally on free courses you've done through IT Masters, etc. And so the key thing here is to get yourself into the first subject that you can get started in your Masters kind of career, and then grow your knowledge and education through that space. So this course here, if we see on the left of the screen there, we've got a block of 4 subjects. So MKT 525, MGI 533, and then we've got a Group A elective and a Group B elective. Charles Sturt, really backs itself in as somebody who's got a lot of practical industry-based knowledge, and our graduates all do very well at job seeking and do very, very well on the wage front as well through that job seeking. So we have a lot of integration of industry and academic and applied kind of concepts within our courses. So in a graduate certificate, which is master's level study, you just do 4 units to get to that point. And you can actually do those 4 units and then transfer into the master's degree if you wish to continue. People tend to study 1 unit per session, and there's 3 sessions per year. So a graduate certificate could be done within 4 sessions, so a year and a little bit. When I did my master's degree, I was probably quite focused on it, and I did 2 subjects per session and finished a whole master's degree within a 2-year window to make that happen. So that's how that works. There's a couple of links right at the end of this deck, which I'll touch on later, so you can go and check these things out. But just across the page there's some interesting subjects. So marketing management, you go, oh yeah, marketing management, but there's a lot of material there which every organization, and put your hand up if you've been in an organization that said something about, oh, we're going to get more customer focused. That is marketing management. Marketing is all about knowing about customers and making that one happen too. So it's an awesome space to be working in this current environment where things are moving forward. Marketing strategy, marketing, data marketing and analytics, search, digital social selling, digital analytics, professional communications, some project management stuff, which is very important for you as well, social marketing, and a whole bunch of subjects in there, which can give you a really good overview of dealing directly with customers, working with customers, and taking organizations on the journey to get closer to customers. Now, just going to quickly also talk to you about the subject, which is going to be, I'm running in parallel from about a week and a half's time now. This subject will start as part of the master's degree, MGI 553, and it's just one subject within that master's degree, and it's still available to be enrolled in. If anybody's super keen to get into that space, you can do that. But it's all about social media platforms, and I guess part of the evolution of the subject, which has only existed for a bit over 2.5 years now, is, well, it's only been run twice before this session, is that we've gone from, not even having TikTok, talked about in the deck, to it being now 1 billion users and very worthwhile, in fact, of talking about in terms of our social platform marketing. We also didn't have last year because it was just a brainchild at the point in time, but COVID has made a thing called Clubhouse large or desirable for some groups of people, and so we'll be talking about this year. So we have our subjects evolve quite quickly, and we try to keep them as current as possible to make that work out for people. Every subject that you study in the university space also has what they call subject learning objectives, and this is just an example of those for this particular subject. So across the subject, you could expect to become either confirmed in your mind if you're already potentially expert in the space, or if you have no idea in the space, you're going to learn about these different things. So how to value different social platforms from marketing, how to align organizational communication goals to platforms, for example, how to create social platform strategy, how to implement a plan to do those. And then out of what we would call the learning objectives, we design our assignment work. And in this particular subject, which we're running shortly, is got 3 assignments. The first one, called Me, My Social World and the Future, is a short blog about, hey, what's going on in my social world? What platforms tickle my fancy and make me interested? How do I interact with those platforms? And so thinking about yourself as a customer, and then, hey, what's the future look like? And so we start to look about that and how you can align that with maybe organizational needs or your startup needs, etc. The second assignment, worth a little bit more in terms of percentage points, is about social platforms and organizations. So this is that alignment of customers of organizations and organizational goals together through social platforms. And then the final assignment in this subject is about you developing a social platform plan for your actual organization. And I know there's a couple of people on here tonight who have done this subject and have done that exact thing. And I would hope that it really gets traction within their own organizations or within their own small businesses or their not-for-profits or the places that they've been working to make that happen. So that's a quick look at how a master's subject kind of works. I implore you to investigate them, to have a look at it. I'm not getting any commissions or kickbacks for doing this, but at a personal level, master's type study can be extremely valuable to every individual, I think. So that's why I would suggest you have a look at it. Now, this is a little shortcut or a cheat or a hack even that you might be interested in, is that if you complete 3 of the free courses, like the one we're doing tonight over the 4 weeks, and complete the exam and get the certificate for it, then if you do 3 of those, you can get a subject credit in the graduate certificate and the master's degree. There's a few little conditions associated with that, but that's the ballpark how it works. Let me just move my mouse around there. And again, there's some pretty cool short course subjects which require about maybe 6 hours of you watching some video time, checking on a few readings, doing a few activities, and submitting an exam at the end. So it can be quite a quick way to level up your skills and make that happen, and then also get a credit into a subject, which is, at the end of the day, it's kind of financially valuable for you as well. So apply digital marketing strategy, social media marketing, effective workplace communications in the digital era. What a cool course. Digital marketing analytics. Alicia Booth does that course. She is a legend in that space, works in it daily, and will teach it at night for people as well. Short course in digital marketing. That's our early 2015 course as well. And then agile project management. And I'm also, in amongst the other things I do, a big project management fan. So things to think about there in your way forward into this course there. I just noticed that Fred's asked a question about what I said about Clubhouse. Clubhouse is a audio-only platform, which was launched late last year. It was by invite only that you could get involved with it, and it's they've had kind of like town hall style meetings with famous people. Elon Musk is probably the guy who gave it the biggest leg up to get things going, and people could go along, literally listen to him live, potentially chat and talk to him as well. And so it's an interesting platform. I've had some criticisms on it because it's anonymous, recordings are not kept. It's got maybe some privacy issues or some dubious behavior issues there too, but it's evolving. It's a brand new startup. Someone's doing well with it. Congratulations to them. And for the rest of us, we're really interested to know, is our target audience or market using Clubhouse for some part of their media life? And if so, how can we get into their space as a place to influence their decision making around our products and services as well? So onto the kind of deck and what's going on here. So across the next 4 weeks, I'm going to expose you to a range of digital marketing issues. And each week we're going to be able to develop some pieces. You'll have enough information to complete 3 or 4 slides of the digital marketing communications plan template, which is available for download on the IT Masters site. People should have probably seen that. I think there's been an email alert to that, so likely people will have that already as well. And then along the way, we're going to kind of workshop that and grow the plan together. And if there's 1,100 smart minds in this group tonight, then we're going to end up with some really clever ideas incorporated into your plan. So lots of discussion on the forum, lots of questions in these live sessions, and it's going to be a great session for sure. Down the bottom of the page here, we've got 2 hashtags. Now, myself and a number of other people have been using both these hashtags across a number of different platforms. For me, particularly, it's Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. We're not using too much on Instagram for this for a number of reasons, or other places, but you can do some searches on these from Google. You can also do searches within Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, and it'll bring up a range of things that have been curated around digital marketing, particularly customer behavior, trends in this space. It's a great place to find resources. So these are tools that you can start using as of tonight. And if you're multitasking at the moment, you might literally be able to pop in and get some stuff going on in that space as well. Also a page here of useful digital marketing sources. I'll leave that for you to have a bit of a look through to do that. Part of the hashtagging space is that you can follow me on Twitter and also on LinkedIn, where I do, if I come across stuff which I think is interesting in the digital space, I will definitely publish it there. And that's just, it's the tip of the iceberg of what's interesting in the space, but it's a great place to shortcut yourself to different sources and get the heads up on some stuff which is just being released. And I'll show you a few things on that tonight just to set the scene for the coming weeks in the course as well. How are we going there, Guy? Everyone happy, you think?
Yeah, I think so. I was just going to say that subject that you were talking about that you have taught a couple of times, we also did a short course on it. So I'm just going to chuck that link in the chat so you can all have a look at that one if you're keen on getting an overview, and also getting a head start, given it starts in a couple of weeks.
Perfect, exactly right. So I'll have to be on the game for that one too. So
yeah, it's a really good course, and again uses those hashtags. So that was heaps of fun.
It's a great way to just to get up to speed with that space, to kind of leapfrog yourself ahead. And then all of these social platforms now are so specialized that I cannot keep up with them. So once you know the kind of areas that are going to be of interest to you, then you're going to do a deep dive into how to make first Facebook work in your not-for-profit business based in Pacific Islands, for example. You're going to get right into the detail of that to make that work. So we're taking a much more high-level strategic view of the world, and threading the bits and pieces so you kind of know where to look for clues, etc. So there you go. On the screen there now, that's my Twitter handle at @amashman. Have a look at that one. I guess I consider myself as a bit of an information and definitely a people connector, and I've had a kind of a blessed life on that front, starting off from maybe a workshop floor through to over the last 20 years or so, I've been working for myself and haven't starved yet, which is always a good sign. But I have a lot of variety in my life, and I get a lot of stuff done and get lots of things going on. I've had 4 kids, left-handed Scorpio, got a birthday coming up very shortly. I'll get you guys to earmark that for me. And bit of motorcycle riding going on, but I'm proving less successful at that these days, and it's getting a little bit painful. So I'm not sure how long that's going to persist for, but we'll see. But in Australia here, heading into summer, maybe a bit of water skiing, and I'm sure I can make that live on for a little bit longer as well. So there you go. 2 places to get in touch with me: the Facebook Getting Smarter link there as well, and then the AMashman on LinkedIn, plus Twitter, as we mentioned. Perfect. So into tonight's core content as well. The first topic area is the digital sphere and marketing. There's a 5-question quiz, I believe, Guy, at the end of this. And so you need to get a number of questions correct to get through that. So it's good to keep tabs on that. All the material you're looking for comes out of the deck tonight and out of the material I talk about around the deck. So just keep tabs on that. And I guess you can rewind the recording if you missed anything particular on that front. So a couple of things going on in this space here is that strangely, though I think it's a COVID-based thing, the most downloaded apps of 2021 have turned out to be virtual private network apps. And I just go, what's going on with that? Why is that going on? And virtual private networks give you an opportunity to be more private, much more private than if you're just using the internet at large. If you're using your Facebook logon across a whole range of platforms, you've really got some privacy issues if you're playing in that space. But the growth of virtual private networks has got also difficulties for marketers, because as people become more, secretive and more privacy focused on the internet, it's going to make it much more difficult for us to reach out into the spaces that they're maybe enjoying the internet, for us to reach them with, content of any sort, consumer generated advertising, all sorts of things like that. So I was a bit fascinated by that one as well. Mobile internet now outstrips PC-based internet, so hardly anyone sitting at a desk anymore in an office, certainly in this Australian part of the world and in many other parts of the world as well. So mobility is massive, and not going to the office now is massive as well. So when you're in a different environment, you're going to make different decisions. You're going to be prompted by different things. Might be because you have your pet sitting on your lap and your pet's doing a bit of an itch, so you're going to Google, itchy pet and stuff like that. So things are happening on as well that are changing the way consumers do things. And we can see that through the stats like mobile internet uptake, for example. COVID has, and pretty much nobody would not expect this, increased rates of adoption of internet, of social media platforms, of technology at different levels, and also increased usage. And I've got some stats coming up on that one also. So for digital marketers, two other things jump out here is that digital is increasingly accessible for all of us, which is awesome. Because if you've got a startup and you've got no money, there is still a great potential for you to reach out to different people and tell them your story, narrate your story to those people. It's possible. It's been, it's just been made accessible to lots and lots of people in ways that in a pre-digital environment, companies and individuals would have had to rely on lots of other more difficult, slow-moving tools to get. So digital is awesome on that front. I'm really excited about that potential for that. The other thing that is the flip side to that is digital is increasingly crowded. Combinations of numbers of people, the growth of different platforms to do different quirky, maybe very vertical focused things is huge. And so you need to have a great deal of knowledge to know where people are going. And one of the stats I'll show you shortly is that nearly every person who's on the internet, and certainly is on mobile, is using something like 6.7 to 7 different social media platforms. So it's very fragmented. People are all over the place doing all sorts of wacky things. Now, one of the guys that I love to follow is Simon Kemp. You can see him up there. That's his Twitter-based handle as well. And one of his tips for moving forward into 2022 is cross-cultural content. And he's calling it cultural fluidity. And I guess that comes out of maybe we've had a bit of withdrawal from our globalized world as nation states and countries and states within those countries have locked down and people have been, only able to kind of travel virtually as it would be. So things going on there. The Netflix, I'm going to get this wrong, Squid Games, is it? What's the Squid one called, Guy? Which I haven't watched yet, I have to say, but a South Korean anime style series has gone gangbusters.
No idea. It sounds very exciting. And you remember me and my
Man, I was counting on you being all over that. What about you, Hannah? You must be all over that. Right? Someone else is going to punch it into the chat box in 1 second. Squid Games. So there, I was right, all over it. Thank you guys for paying attention. That's terrific. So that's a particular niche style thing, and it comes from a very specific culture in a very specific part of the world. And it's just one kind of, I guess, point or tip about maybe the variational diversity in content and cultural, on a global scale might really impact the way marketers need to communicate to their audiences as well. So that's what I'm thinking about in that space. So I've got a couple of quick slides to pop through here, which have got some data. These are available by We Are Social or Hootsuite. The link was on the previous page, and I think it's on the end page as well, but you can see it in the bottom, so they are not my slides. Awesomely for me, they were published in October 2021, about the 16th of October. So I'm just going to bring you the latest, freshest detail here on a global scale about what's going on in the digital world. So interestingly enough, global population still growing, but not at a massively rapid rate compared to some of the things we're using, that humans are using in the space. So the big area here, unique mobile phone users, 5.2 billion. That's a big number. That's a huge chunk of the planet who has a small device. Now, not all of them are what they call feature or smartphones. So that's why the the mobile phone number is bigger than the internet-based number as well. But nevertheless, they are. And we know that Elon Musk is, and I heard a story today about his Skynet thing offering Wi-Fi to people is actually out and happening now. So people who would never, ever are going to be able to struggle to get internet, and even in Australia, when we talk about mobile-based internet, it's been a bit patchy for people. So the Skynet thing that Musk is working on is likely to solve internet access for hundreds of millions of people if they can afford it to get that. So we're going to see growth in mobile connectivity and internet connectivity coming up in the world as well. So just under 5 billion people using the internet, and numbers of people who are active social media users. So again, 4.5 billion people who are making social media a major part of their life. And we'll see some time on that in a second. So a few things going on there. None of these numbers are going backwards. They're all growing. So digital, which 10 years ago was, I don't know if I should get into it or not. It's a bit risky. It's a bit new. Don't know what's going on there. It's a wave, and it's a tsunami even, and it's moving. And for organizations not to be part of that wave, then it's going to be very difficult for them to probably maintain relationships with customers, keep customers, and be even effective against their competition at all. So there you go. Now, this is again a slide from Simon's deck, and that's the link actually to the deck there, straight underneath that slide. But a couple of things. 2/3 of the world's population is now on mobile phones. It's pretty massive as well. Social media users increased by 400 million in the past 12 months. So 400 million, that's, the size of a couple of countries into that space. So growing at 10% when global population's only been growing at about 1% or so. So these are fast moving spaces. So if you're not moving into it, you're getting left behind just by the sheer nature of how these things are moving. So a few more things you can have a look at there as you need to as well. Social media use. Now, social media use is massive. You can put your hand up or put a question there in the chat box if you're not using social media of any type. I'll be interested to see if there is one amongst our couple of hundred people who are online tonight, but probably not. We'll wait and see on that one. But 4.5 billion people, half, or a bit over half, in fact 60% really of the global population, and heading that way as well, plus 9% or 10% as it would be, 400 million new users as well. So Stelio's good. He's holding off on Twitter. There you go. And people definitely have social medias that they don't want to use and that they would like to be specific about, but it's interesting to see. Chat apps are in some social media conversations and are out of some social media conversations. Like WhatsApp, for example, is definitely chat-based, but because there's such a sheer number of users there, people are looking at ways that they can influence across that network as well, and through their connections with Facebook, etc. Amount of time spent per day using social media, 2 hours, 27 minutes. So there you go. If you haven't done any social media today, and we finish this at around 8:30, which we'll be struggling to, it's still going to be close to 8:30. It'll be 11 o'clock before you get to bed by the time you catch up on all your social media. And for many people, this starts at the alarm going off in the morning, where they'll be checking on their social media platforms. Many people in Australia today would have found out across social media that they found the little girl that went missing in WA, as things like Twitter, for example, are the fastest things to share information on across particular countries and nation states, I suppose, at the end of the world.
How much time would you spend, Andrew? Sorry, as someone who's a practitioner.
Gosh, I would hope that I don't spend that much time, though it is becoming increasingly difficult to put your phone out of your hand to not be checking on things. That said, I'm also very selective about what I want to have a look at and what I need to have a look at. But things like families, for example, we've got kids play sport. The touch footy draw was on Facebook the other night. Had to find that. There's gigs on at pubs. There's all that sort of thing. So it is quite immersive in nature and quite hard to break away from. Good news for marketers is, though, at 2.5 hours a day, they can find people in this space. There'll be ad spaces to slide in next to them. There'll be content opportunities to slide across TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, probably, definitely Instagram, etc. And we know people are watching the screen for this amount of period in the day, so it's pretty massive, in fact, in terms of going forward. The last dot on this slide here, which is massively important, is the number of platforms that each user is likely to have loaded on their devices. Probably some people might have a little bit of variation between their PC, notebook, MacBook, etc., and their mobile device, because a few platforms only work on mobile or work best on mobile for sure. But we know people are switching between platforms. So you can't just go, let's do a campaign on Facebook. It'll be great. There's more than 2 billion monthly users there. It's got to work for us. Well, if they're only there to check up the touch football timetable for 5 minutes on a Sunday night before touch footy on Monday, there's a very small window of time. But if they spend hours scrolling through their Instagram feed, dreaming about travel opportunities into exotic beachside locations around the world, then that is probably where you've got to find them, or that's where you've got to generate some content to be into their feed or into the stories they're watching, etc. So it's great, but it's also tricky. And I guess one thing I wanted to get out of tonight is that people have to make conscious decisions about where to spend your time, because to manage a Facebook feed for a brand and to keep in front of a couple of different target markets with fresh content, it's a big job. You can't just go set up your schedule and let it roll out 2 or 3 things across different times of the day and be done with that. There's liking to be done, there's being follows, there's unfriending, there's moderation, there's new content, there's user generated content to be reshared. It's a big job, and probably the single most difficult thing around social media for everybody is that we don't have enough resources to do all the things that we'd like to. And then when you're short of resources, you probably don't do the things that you want to do well. So my message is to be really tight on what you want to do and how you want to run it, and then get on with those. And then as capabilities grow or resources grow out your capability in social or digital spaces as well. So this slide here, probably no surprises here for most people. Facebook is the massive app. It's still the biggest thing in the USA, but there's some really gaping holes in Facebook's kind of target audience lineup these days, certainly with younger audiences particularly. They have quite good growth in older audiences, but fewer and fewer people target older audiences for a range of products and services. And if you want to reach younger audiences, then you're probably going to be looking at different platforms for sure. The Facebook owns WhatsApp and Instagram, and again, there's some materials you can do through Facebook for business to share, certainly across Facebook and Instagram, and lighten your load a little bit. But I see Facebook and Instagram as quite different beasts in terms of the kind of content. So you need to be very careful about targeting your content to the audiences on each of those platforms. The one that I'm still very excited about there is YouTube is number 2 there, more than 2 billion monthly unique visitors as well. And the big thing for me about YouTube is that it's owned by Google, and Google is still by a country mile the world's biggest search engine. And so stuff you do on YouTube and stuff that you do on Google has a natural synergy to reach huge markets. And Google stuff and Google search of all sorts, is kind of a gateway to audiences for everything. And I'll doubt that there's, again, anybody on this group tonight who hasn't done a couple of Google searches today. Pop your hand, pop something in the chat box if you have done no searches today, or tell me if you have searched on Bing, for example. I'd be interested to know if there's much search on Bing happening in amongst this group. DuckDuckGo, very good. Avoiding the big monsters. Oh, okay, a couple of starters on that one too, and no searches, duties. Well, there you go. Interesting. Have to use Bing for work. And if you're in Australia, Bing is very difficult to get good results on in Australia. So there you go. And then Yaglin, is it? 10 searches in the last 2 hours for sure. So there you go. And Startpage, I haven't heard of that one. Very good. Very good indeed. So a bit of stuff going on there about how we use it. For me, Google connected to YouTube, content on YouTube. I put definitely YouTube as a social platform because people are interacting it on different ways today. So that's good too. Excellent. Getting some great stuff in that list there, Guy.
It's amazing. I'll never understand why Bing, but why do they do it? Like, if it's not successful, can't they do something else now?
When they're actually, there's some people have to use it. So like, I think it was it Judy's Toshiba might have been using it only Bing or had to use it for work, etc. And a guy I know, he works for a company based in Hong Kong that does all of Bing's advertising sales into China. They also do stuff on Facebook, on Google and Facebook for them, but they've got stuff going on Bing. And for China, Bing, maybe it's a little bit more targeted than what it is for Australia, because in Australia you pull up lots of .com sites and they're not very relevant to the local market. So they're selling advertising space. They're making millions of dollars of advertising each month, and it's going quite well for them. So there you go. I think Windows expects Bing to kind of crack it, or for Google to lose the plot on where they want to be and their clear page and their focus on good quality search, which I really don't think is going to happen, but they'll certainly be standing there to step in if that happens. So, and maybe it'd only take a bad data breach or some kind of scandal for people to change their behaviors around search a little bit as well. So, I'm sure they're optimistic about that, and it's part of a portfolio for Microsoft that they're doing okay, and to not have that, given Google's got their own operating systems and stuff as well, would probably leave them a little bit vulnerable, I suppose. So there you go.
It might also be something that you look at with regard to Tracy's question in the Q&A, which is about regulation. If someone was to regulate Google, break up the big one sort of thing.
And I have to say, thanks for the question, Tracy, that's really good. I think in the short term, I can say medium term, even 5 years, the only people who will regulate them will be governments. Governments will really struggle to do this. We've seen a little bit of stuff with the media payment thing in Australia. We did see Trump try to ban TikTok in the US, but TikTok has grown in the US since the ban. So, it's very difficult to regulate these, what are monster businesses with a huge amount of financial clout and political clout as well. So I think we have to work with that. And that's where I think organizations and individuals have to strategize about how are we going to be part of Google, or how are we going to be part of Bing. And, Bing might be an awesome platform for you if you know where your target audience is sitting, and if you know that they go to work every day and they have to use the Bing platform, then it's a very narrow cast job to be able to reach them directly. And in fact, there's far less noise around that. So it could be an opportunity for some digital marketers for sure. Just heading down this list a bit, TikTok didn't feature on this list 2 years ago, but they've cracked over 1 billion monthly users now. So that's pretty massive for them. And they've gone way past the likes of Twitter and Pinterest, which were, holding their own. Snapchat's still out there, but they would be disappointed that TikTok's got to where it's got to. And Snapchat is still growing their business though, but they haven't at the rate that what TikTok's done over the last little while. So yeah, a couple of stats on TikTok for you. And the question there is love it or hate it. And I guess I'll get you to chuck it in there in the chat section as well, whether you love or hate TikTok for me. For me, I do have an account, and TikTok is like an awesome train wreck unfolding. And I'm interested in all things hashtag Australia, hashtag motorbikes, probably. There's a whole bunch of things. So, and they just keep coming, and you can just burn up lots and lots of time on that as well. And then some other things though you see on there are probably a little, dubious and maybe not too holistic. TikTok has made it far more easy to share material from TikTok now, which I think will only enhance their growth and increase the virality of some of the material that happens on there as well. So it's interesting. And the question is, the statement is it's got a very big audience, but the question is your audience there? And as a marketer, if your audience is dabbling in TikTok, or if they're spending an hour and a half of their 2.5 hour social media day on TikTok, you've got to work out how to be there. You've got to work out what kind of content you can generate, what kind of advertising you can slide in a way of high cut through, but doesn't cause them to block your feed or get out of their feed as well. So there's challenges associated to that one as well. So love it used as an educational tool. I just have to check what education you're doing in that space, because there's certainly a lot of things to learn on TikTok. I would have to agree with that. Whether you need to learn them all or not, I'm not sure. Anyhow, all good fun TikTok. And the bad news, if you're an Australian, is that Australia doesn't make up anywhere in the top 20 of the addressable audiences for that platform. So there's many other places in the world that TikTok would be a very big and important tool to reach a younger demographic in those countries. I believe when they announced the US ban, there was a bit of a dipping in TikTok for the USA, but at the same time they picked up 200 million Indian subscribers to TikTok in that particular window. So really interesting how that one goes as well. There you go. So keeping tabs on your kids, that's pretty good. Yes, well, there's a whole ownership question there, which James has brought up as well. And, that's just a whole dynamic play going on a global scale about where's our data go, who's using it. And, interestingly enough, Facebook has just canned facial recognition because one of them, I think they paid out 650 million US court case against some people that have been tagged that were not supposed to be tagged or had block tagging, etc. And some recognition had happened in that space, and clearly that could have some pretty serious knock-on effects. And they're pulling out of that. I'm sure other people are actively involved in facial recognition and using that to better understand or know about their customers. So bit of yin and yang on that one going on. Now the last slide in this set here, which is means I need to get moving a bit too, is just how users are across multiple platforms. We'll get into this a little bit more next week and the week after that. But what we're looking at here is users that are on one particular platform, but they're also on other platforms. So of people who are on Facebook, for example, then 75% of them use YouTube, 77% have Instagram, just 13% use Reddit. Interesting enough, but 44% are using TikTok as well. So we have this kind of audience moving very fluidly, at the swipe of an app on your phone, moving from one app to the next app as well, very fluidly between platforms. And again, this is a challenge for marketers to work out where to invest my money. To focus on one platform, it's probably exclusively dangerous. To focus on too many, equally dangerous. So what is the right mix? Which are the platforms that your target audience is sticky on? It's things that you need to know about them as well. There you go. And one other thing in terms of advertising on many platforms is that the cost of digital advertising has jumped about. There was 1 quarter of dip, but overall, I think it's jumped about 17% in the last 12 months or so. So there's a bit of volatility in the cost of advertising, but it is definitely headed north over the last 12 months or so. So things to think about, and we'll get some more detail about those. And these are things that you definitely need to think about as we head into doing our communications plan as well. Oh yeah, sorry, this is the last slide in this deck here. And where did your day go and where was our customer today? So this is time spent in all the different places on different media choices. So 7 hours nearly on the internet. It's just huge. It's grown on the quarter-on-quarter growth down the bottom there. That's the numbers that are moving there as well. Time spent using social media has increased by just 2%, not very much, but it's increasing as well. Podcasts are on the rise, so that suddenly brings podcasts up to, this is maybe something you've got to work out how to sponsor or develop your content into podcast style execution and delivery, because that is a growth space for sure for us to do things. So there you go. If you had a busy day today, that is where some of your time has most definitely gone. So we've got a template deck which you will have had access to today, and sorry, just looking over there at Linda's question too, Guy. So how much growth in apps, social media use would you speculate given Windows 11? Good point. And Windows 11 will apparently support Android apps, so that'll be interesting to see how that actually goes. I've got a thing flashing on my computer at the moment, actually, that I can download Windows 11 now. So I'm not sure how that will impact. I think the Windows 11 uptake will take a little while in its own right, and then I guess we have to learn how to use it. Certainly, it already syncs with my phone and can help me know which of my apps are talking to me and what to follow on. So it might it'll definitely improve our ability to switch between apps and stay up to date with breaking news as it might be, or other things like that. There you go. That's kind of my view on that one, but I will keep tabs on that. That's good. So Rod's just saying it's worked pretty seamlessly, and hopefully that's a good thing than early days of going to Windows 10. So that's good as well. Yeah, there you go. We'll keep on with my lean marketing canvas and then keep moving forward on that one. So the lean marketing canvas, I've put it in this deck and in the template because it is just a way to capture a bunch of stuff about your business idea. If you're thinking about a startup, about your existing business framework. And when I say businesses, I'm talking about, commercial for-profit businesses. I'm talking about government organizations. I'm talking about non-government organizations. I'm talking about not-for-profits in the health sector or in the disability sector. Any kind of organization can leverage these tools to better understand what's going on. And so I'm going to quickly just run through the headings on this one. Lean also talks to us, and Lean's never been more effective than in the digital world as well, because with digital we can reach out with very low kind of upfront costs sometimes. With we can try a number of things and we can fail quickly and fail forward, as some people might put it as well, and we can move. So lean works well. Lean is all about being the most effective with our resources, and that's why you talk about lean startups, we talk about growth hacking. These are all kind of lean organizational types or models that people use to move forward very quickly and get things done. So that's why it's in the deck here, and it's a way to capture the overall plan, which we can then use to build our digital stream off that. So first part about this here is our objectives of goals. We use that SMART, so specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. I am massive for timing on goals. Goals that have no timing are really problematic. It means nobody needs to achieve them by any particular time. So that's difficult for us. So we're going to write some goals, and usually one or two. I don't want to see 10 goals about an organization. Too hard to communicate to all your stakeholders. The second thing I'm going to deal with on this canvas here is the target audience, which is on the far side. So first of all, we'd have some organizational goals, and then we've got to have someone to execute them with. And if we can't work out who to execute our goals with, or who our goals are palatable with, or who has the potential to buy or download X amount of apps, buy new Hyundai Iconic 5, all of those kind of things, then we can't even start to marry those together and understand the other parts of the lean marketing canvas as well. So target audience for me is massive. You need to understand your customers intimately. I always suggest, as much as it's kind of stereotyping, but to write persona style things. Andrew is not going to go into age and demographics and a whole bunch of things, but he's a water skier and he's a Scorpio and he does this and he owns 3 cars and he does that. That might tell us a bit about Andrew. And we use that to look for more like Andrews and to understand that they might all go to the car races when the car races are on, or on a wet weekend, they might all watch car racing on TV. So some TV spots might be really good. Or they are part of a car club, which publishes stuff online. And so we can go to the online space around that car club to promote that one as well. So that's how we want to learn about customers. And there's more on this coming. I am obsessed with customers and I want to know about them. So I'll make that one happen as well. Jerome just asked, is the lean marketing canvas similar to the lean startup canvas? And I'd say it's identical, mate. So same thing on that front. Going back to the other side, then we've got some key metrics, things we want to know how to measure. So what's valuable for us? It might be downloads, hits, watches, sales for sure. At the end of the day, somebody's got to ring the till for you. You've got to raise money for venture capital. You've got to sell your products and get some money back for them. You've got to meet your budget if you're a disability carer. So we've got to have some metrics that are meaningful to the business and the stakeholders so that we can measure. if somebody pops up and says, "Oh, well, let's set a goal to increase brand awareness by 30%," that's a really crappy goal unless you've got a massive market research budget, because measuring brand awareness is nearly impossible to measure. It's not impossible to measure, I can't say that, but you could spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to measure that one thing. Is there a better way to measure the things that you want to know? So make sure you got some measures and you make that one happen. The where are we now thing, we're going to have a quick look at that in a second. It's about the SWOT, and I'll get more into details about that. I usually summarize the SWOT into what I would call critical issues. So what comes out of the SWOT are the things we must do in this plan, otherwise we're going to fail. So things we must solve to be moving ahead. Third box across, core brand values. So this is about what is our brand? What does it stand for? What's our differentiation? What is the value proposition? What does the customer experience by dealing with us? And, if we've got an awesome cutting edge tech piece of gadgetry like an iPhone 13, then it might be fantastic. But if all the guys at the Genius Bar are really cranky or hungover from the party I went to last night, customer service might be down the tube and customer experience might be down the tube, even though the device is absolutely spectacular. So we're interested in that whole package of stuff that goes on around the customer journey. And what is the customer getting out being part of the Apple brand and owning an iPhone 13, for example? There you go. Competition. Competition is a couple of things for me. I'm bad with this, because if I had to take a box out of this lean marketing canvas, I'd take out the competition one, because some people and organizations become so obsessed about competition, they cannot move forward. They cannot step out of the shadow of their competitors. But on the flip side to that, you need to be able to understand what value other competitors are giving their customers. And it probably becomes a minimum, a benchmark of execution or a benchmark of delivery. So learn what customers expect, but don't become obsessed by them as well. Moving down to the yellow box on the right-hand side there, we've got channels. This is how do we get to our consumers? How are we going to make that happen? And so for the last 2 weeks, I've been on the search for a particular motorcycle helmet. I had one, I broke it, cracked it. So that's bad. That's my writing skills shining through there. But I wanted one exactly the same. And it's a 2-year-old model. It's all but obsolete. I've been to 5 bike shops. I ordered one. They said it was coming, and turns out they actually didn't have it in stock and they couldn't get it as well. So I had to get a refund, had a bad customer experience with those guys about that refund. And today I was in a motorcycle shop trying on helmets to see which one fitted similar to that one. No luck, so unhappy. Didn't spend any money at the local bike shop. But I went back to Google search, got me to eBay. I bought a helmet, saved money. It's coming out of Adelaide. I should have it by next week. Awesome experience on that front. So I'm going to make that one happen. So lots of stuff going on there in terms of how do you get to customers. And if you don't understand how your customers get to you, it's again very difficult to chart out that customer journey. And I can tell you on nearly every website I've been to today, and including on eBay, advertising for another motorcycle shop, which I searched for motorcycle helmets on, it keeps popping up in all over my screens. It's horrible nearly, but that's them remarketing based on searches on their site and a checkout, a trolley, which I abandoned on the way out the door. So understand the path to your target audience customers. If there's other people on that path, kind of nice, but don't make the path so big that you're reaching out to people who've got no interest in your product or service. So be it through physical distribution, bricks and mortar, or electronic, be in the right place for your customers with the right mechanisms to make that happen. Working back to the left, we're going to have some kind of timeline because we're dealing with IT masters and I love projects as well. We're going to have some kind of Gantt chart, project plan, milestones, a timeline literally, and there's a great plugin for PowerPoint called Timeline for PowerPoint, I think. So in your PowerPoint decks, you can build your own timelines to pitch your communications plan to different stakeholders in your organization as well. So really valuable tools there. Then all stakeholders will know what's happening, what they've got to do to make that happen, and there's less chance of things going awry. Lastly, addressing here, we've got to have 2 things: marketing capability. So we have to have some talent and people to do stuff. And often at some level, we have to have some level of money, even if it's just to pay the people to do things. There's a model we use in marketing called paid, earned, and owned. And it's a really great tool in the digital space because there's stuff that we can do which we own. So our own website. So for me, liberatorvision.com, for IT Masters, www.itmasters.edu.au. We own that. We can do what we like with it. We can write rude things on the front page, or we can write really creative things, or we can put educational information. It's ours. We do what we like with it. High control, really good. We have our tags, handles on Twitter, TikTok. We have our organizational brand names in those as well. We have a lot of control over those things. So own stuff is good, and we're investing it through the people that we've got, and that talent's paid for. Earned is where we usually get something that is customer created. So we talk about user generated content, customer created content. Customer feedback is earned. So when somebody shares or reshares or retweets or likes your post, whatever it might be, then these are earned things. And the organization goes, wow, somebody liked our products and services. That's really great. I'm going to reshare that back into our feed so people see that our customers like the work that we do. So again, no cost associated with that. But if there's no good customer experiences, you won't be earning much in terms of value there. And if you don't have many followers, you won't be earning much either. And the last one at the top, which is where money can be spent well and easily, is the paid icon. So one area where we'd be crazy not to spend money these days, and search engine optimization used to be a kind of a free thing, but it costs money to do these days. So that's SEO, SEM, search engine marketing, where we're doing stuff within our search engines. And there's quite a number of articles written about organizations that are doing well in search, have both an SEO strategy, so they're the top ranking organic search result, but they also have a paid component of that. And when people see both the paid component and the top organic rating, they go, wow, these guys might be really good at this space. So if you, I think Google, if you're in Sydney particularly, if you Google fashion clothing, I think the Iconic will fall into that space. The Iconic will be the top organic result, was a few weeks ago anyhow, and they'll have some paid stuff going on around that as well. So very clever on their front. So for the purposes of this course and part of your homework, I'm going to go to another slide in a second, we've got a blank one of these for you to fill in. Don't expect to complete it in one crack. You just be able to write some stuff in. You know, if you like printing stuff, print it out. If you've got a pen and you can draw on your screen, then do that and write over the surface there and give it some ideas. It's going to grow next week. It's going to grow the week after. And the week after that, you'll have something really valuable to share with other people about your business and organization and your plan. Excellent. So moving further into the template, this is the link to the template. And Guy, you might just remind me, is it up in the feed tonight, or is it only accessible via the IT Masters site? There you go.
So the all the resources that we've got in, they'll be on the course page.
There you go. So they are on the course page, and Hannah has just punched it into the chat feed. So thank you very much for doing that, which is perfect. That's a template you need. It'll be valuable for you to use down the track. Grab it. That's what you're going to do. The template is a guide for you to conceptualize your ideas. That's a really important point. It's not a be all and end all. It is not a silver bullet. It is not going to work for every organization. So feel free to modify, chop it, change it, bin it if you don't like it, but it's a place to start. And if you've got nowhere else to start with that. It'll be a great place to do that. So it's a great place to conceptualize your ideas. So this is the crux of that template. And we'll see the next slide there has got the blank marketing canvas there. So I'm just going to go back to that one for a second. So coming from material off the canvas, we've got material about our organization. So what is our organization about? We're then going to conduct a SWOT, and I'm going to do these in separate slides in a few minutes, just so that we know what we're doing for this week, for next week. We definitely want to know about my customers. Who are they? What's going on with them? What stuff do we know about them? What channels do they use in the digital space particularly? Because if we know a lot of stuff about our customers, but we don't know about their digital behavior, you know, it's just there like that. We really want this like that. And that really makes our spend or our effort very efficient to make that one happen. So that we then have some digital goals. So goals for our digital strategy, which reflect the organizational strategy goals. That gets you sign off with your executive suite, with your C-suite, with your board of directors, whoever those guiding people might be, maybe your investors. If they can see that integration, that these goals for the organization are great, well, digital is going to deliver on this part of those goals. That's a really powerful thing. We then would write digital strategy, and that's next week or the week after, and we choose a suite of tools which will deliver on that strategy for us, which will deliver on those digital goals, which will make the customers happy, which will make our organization happy. And that's the kind of mode and the flow of this particular template, and that's how it kind of works for us as well. We'll talk about budgets and performance evaluation coming up. So let's slide into, that's our blank canvas, which we just talked about. So that's the one, print out or use your pen to write on the screen if you happen to have that. We'll talk them,
Fancy.
Andrews. Make that happen, and you can start to populate that. That's definitely homework for this week. And as we go from week to week, you'll get more and more better information in that. And, you know, if you want to share it on the IT Masters forum, we might be able to have some time to feedback on some of those as well.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Yeah, feedback to each other as well. Like,
absolutely, that's where the value is, because given the few people that I know who are doing the course tonight, you know, there's a huge amount of talent out there, and just one or two words might be awesome and just change the direction of someone's plan and their success in that space too. So that's really good value. So the first thing, and this is for your homework this week as well, is to understand who your organization is. Now that's awesome. If you work for an organization, you can probably go to their website, look under About Us, and it'll have some vision, mission, values, goals material. But if you're a startup, then you have to kind of imagine this and capture it for yourself so you can get going on this. And if you're a startup and you've got this cool entrepreneurial idea, for example, then you probably haven't picked it up in terms of vision, mission, and values and stuff like that. But you've got, man, I've got this awesome new product. It's going to work like this, and it's going to do this and that, and it's going to go there, and it'll be sort of around the world, and it'll be all over, and tourists will love it, and it's going to be great. Now you have to pull back and decode that into, what are we going to do here? We're going to make an awesome tourist experience for year 12 leavers. We're going to provide safe and secure yet fun, you know, app-driven tourist destinations for these post-school kids, etc. So you're gonna have to tear that apart to make that one happen. And again, if you're doing this for an organization that currently exists, then hopefully this material is available. If you have quite of an entrepreneurial leader, even in a large organization, then it might be more in their head. So you might have to kind of tap into that and just pull out the bits and pieces that will help you make sense of where your digital strategy is going to go, so you can get into that and make that happen. So that's the important part about that slide there. So for next week, my vision, mission, and values. So how are you going to go about doing this particular business? Next one here is the SWOT analysis. Most people doing this course will have heard of or seen SWOT analyses around. They've been around forever. They're a strategic management tool, but there's a couple of things about them which makes them much more easy to use, and I'm going to go into that in one sec. So the first one is strengths, and we have the 4 boxes. You can blow them out, make them as big as you like, and put them in there. And one of the things about strengths is it's internal to the business or the organization. It's an internal thing. It's something you do well. You're not reliant on someone outside of the organization to do it well for you to do well. So it's got to be controllable by you. And the cool thing about that is weaknesses, which are kind of the opposite end. You got strengths here and weaknesses here. Then weaknesses are things that you don't do so well at the moment, but they're within your control. So you can fix them and change them. If you're crappy at branding, you can learn about that and you can fix that over time. If you've got shitty customer service, you can fix that and change that and get a robot to do it for you or whatever else might be going on. And you can change it from a weakness to a strength. So these are things that are inside the organization that the organization has control over and, you know, is really responsible for at the end of the day. So front that up to your management and go, we're awesome at this, we're crap at this, we got to fix it. It's our responsibility. We can make that happen. The bottom part of the grid here is about opportunities and threats. And these are outside of the organization. They come from outside and they are essentially uncontrollable. Some people can kind of influence them over time with, you know, different things or, you know, industry groups or, you know, cartels even can sort of influence stuff outside of an organization. But for most of us, we are just literally stuck with what's going on in this space. So we have to learn to work with it. The big one here for me for opportunities is that customers are opportunities, and rarely do you see a SWOT analysis done, which is highlighted customer opportunities, changing customer needs. So here we come off the back of COVID, off lockdowns all around the world, across being a vaxxer or being an anti-vaxxer, across growth in internet, across growth in mobile phones. There has got to be, and there is, new opportunities out there. So true enough, and someone's just punched in the chat box there, COVID's a threat. And COVID has been a threat to lots of things. But in the Australian market, some businesses have gone gangbusters in the COVID period. How did that happen? So this is where the SWOT analysis should really point to that COVID is going to make people stay home. And one of the categories I know, and I think it's grown by 21%, is furniture. So people are staying home. They're sitting on their crusty old lounge in front of their crusty old coffee table watching their crusty old 75-inch TV set. And they're going, oh, I'm going to be here for 6 weeks. This is not good enough. And they get onto Temple and Webster. They get onto online shopping places that deliver, and they order a new couch, new coffee table, and an 80-inch TV. So that's shopping has gone really well. So the threat of COVID has been an opportunity for a group of customers to go out and spend stuff. So if you're in the furniture business, COVID has been an opportunity for you. And doing a SWOT analysis is all about getting on top of those as they happen and unfold. So that's what we're talking about. Things which often appear under threats is stuff that competitors do, areas where we don't know enough about the market outside that's going on. And if your business just chipped away going, oh yeah, this COVID thing, it'll go away, it won't matter, you've probably missed some really serious opportunities around that. So hence the identification of stuff and the opportunity to understand it is super important in this space. And so those three pieces are for homework next week. I'll touch on them in a second. And the last thing I just wanted to brush on tonight, because time's slipping away a little bit, is what is in your digital portfolio. And this is not everything. It's not a wholesome list for sure. There's opportunities here, but it's more about the graphic. Digital stuff is anything in the digital sphere. It's not just social media. Social media is digital, but it's not just that. It's not just your website, which websites were massive from about 2000 onwards, and they were central to platforms. But these days, you can do a startup and you can run a business without a website, and you can do e-commerce without a website because you're using platforms like Shopify, you're doing it through Instagram, all of those sort of things. So what is your portfolio? And your portfolio should reflect where your target customers are and what kind of mechanisms they're using. There's no point in having a foot in every camp or every one of these cells on the screen here, because your customers are unlikely to be in all of those different places. But if you know your customers Google a lot, then SEO and SEM is going to be important for you. Your website is going to be important for them as well. Targeting people and having e-commerce possibilities on your website is likely to be important. If you know those same people also spend an hour a day on a particular social media platform, then social media is going to form some part of your digital portfolio for sure. And to avoid it is going to leave people out there, because if you think about your own media day today, you did a bit of Googling, you're on a couple of company websites, you check your social media a couple of times before lunch, a couple of times after lunch, a couple of times before 2 o'clock, and a few times after 2 o'clock. And you moved around the digital ecosystem for sure. You need to work out how your customers are going in that same space and what their behaviors are around those particular different things. So it's important. A couple of points off the things on the side there. The digital sphere is always changing, and one of the reasons for that is everybody's algorithms. So algorithms are what controls what flows in your TikTok feed. It's what controls what comes up under your Google search. It can be influenced by location, by language, by previous behaviors, a whole bunch of things, but it's dynamic. It's moving all the time, and we need to know what's going on in that space for our consumers so that we can best work with them to make that one happen. So more on this in coming weeks as we pop along with different things as well. So there you go. Just to wrap things up tonight, this is just a link back to those 2 courses we kicked off with. Hannah just let me know before we started tonight, and this is not on the decks you guys will have, but applications for this coming session, should you feel inclined to start, are still open until the 8th of November. So if you feel like now's a good time for you, that's good. Did you have something you want to add to that, Guy?
No, you're bang on. You can start right up to that date.
There you go.
Even a couple of days after, we can always figure something out.
There you go. And the session starts the week after that, I believe. So you're right in amongst it. And you can do it. For some people across the kind of this part of the year, summer, if you're in Australia or in the Southern Hemisphere, or winter, holidays, etc., can be an awesome time to study. For other people, it's really problematic. You have choice. Start now, start later. But on my personal recommendation, it's something you should look at as you move into your future. So there you go, Guy. That pretty much nearly brings me to an end. I'll just talk about these couple of things here. So for homework next week, you've got the template. The link was in the chat there. There's a bit of access issue, but I think that's sort of been solved based on what I'm seeing. So that's good. You need to have a look at slides 5, 6, and 7. There's those 3 things. Just get your pencil or your electronic pen out, have a bit of a scroll, take some notes, and it'll be better next week, and the week after that it'll be better again, and the week after that it'll be even better, and the week after that you'll have something you want to present to management because you've got a really good grip on where you're going and what you want to do. We have a 5-question quiz for you to take. There'll be a link to that somewhere as well on the site, and we'll do some questions and answer stuff in a second, but you can also post them to the forum and put them into the chat feed for next week as well. And outside of that, from my end, have fun, stay well, and do a few searches on our I Get Digital and the IT Masters hashtags across those social channels and see some more material that will be going on there as well. So excellent. Thanks, Guy. I'm going to hand that back to you, and then you can call me in as you need me.
Yeah,
thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks so much. We'll go to those questions. Might as well get to them straight away. I'm pretty sure you answered this during the webinar, but Jerome was asking, is the lean marketing canvas similar to the lean startup canvas?
Yep.
Could you just quickly go over what they are for them that are
good,
really new?
It comes out of the plan on a page kind of concept. So the lean marketing and startups are very much in the same space, usually resource poor, financially poor. And so we're looking at the minimalistic kind of structures and ideas and things we need to get a business floated off the ground, first customers, whatever we need to. So hence that's where lean comes from, and startups in the same space for that as well. So hopefully that helps you, Jerome. Thank you for the question.
Thank you indeed. Mohammed asks, do we use design thinking in digital marketing?
Absolutely. Design thinking is a kind of a massive thing. I've done a couple of projects with Telstra actually in Australia and PricewaterhouseCoopers, and they're trying to get year 10, 11 and 12 high school kids working through and using design thinking to get things done. So it's very much a problem solving technique, I suppose, looking at lateral ways to solve problems. So if you're an avid design thinker, Mohammed, you should definitely be bringing it in and sharing it amongst your peers as well.
Yeah, it's really cool. Is that sort of to do with choice architecture and sort of experimenting with different ways of tailoring pages, or is this something else?
No, it's more of a holistic, high-level way to solve problems, really, I think. So that's my particular view on it. I'm sure there's some variations on that. And the one that you talked about, what did you just mention then, Guy? What was that?
I guess choice architecture, where you sort of do A/B tests on, which color button results in the best, I guess, results for whatever you're trying to get people to do.
Yeah, so I would think that's probably part of it, but it's a little bit more on the creative side and less parameters about how can we create a solution here, and workshopping ideas and looking for solutions and then testing and retesting and failing early, doing new ways to do it, etc.
Yeah. Oh, really cool. We've also got a couple of short courses on that sort of side of things. If you go and look at the marketing and communications short courses, have a look through, Mohammed.
Excellent indeed.
Al asks, how do you see the relationship between micro advertising and social media advertising?
Oh, sorry, let me just get that one done. So that was micro advertising and social media advertising. I'm not 100% sure on micro advertising, what you might be incorporating into that. Certainly, the spend in social media spaces can be massively valuable. The boosting of posts, for example, is a very easy way. At no other time in our history have we had such good information about who we can boost a post to, for example. All the platforms are very good at being able to to do that. So in terms of social media advertising, it's a winner for me. I like it. I feel a bit Russell Howcroft on that front. It's awesome. Bring it on. But so it's a good thing. Micro advertising. We think we're talking about that in the social spaces or in that too. All advertising is valuable, but you need to know who it's going to and is it working for you there too. Advertising is exceptionally easy to waste money on, but if you know it's hitting the mark, and advertising fits into that space of, there's a model we use in marketing too called attention, interest, desire, action. And if people do not know about your product or service, then advertising is one way to reach them, to create that attention. And then we can drive them across to our website, into our social feed, maybe into a chat room possibly, so we can talk more about things. So if you've got more information there, AI, you can tell me more about what you're thinking about micro advertising, but that's my perspective on that.
No, thanks a lot. We'll cut questions off now, Hannah. Thanks, Andrew, already for going over time. Like, I'm really grateful for, I guess, extra free content for folk. A couple of questions here about different platforms, the ethics of using platforms, and I guess social responsibility. Is this sort of something you're going to be talking about or want to engage much with in this course, or is it sort of outside the scope of it? And do you have any sort of comments on that?
Yeah, I've got lots of opinions on it, and we won't be getting too much detail in this course just through the sheer lack of time. In the social platform marketing course, we talk about it a little bit more. I think at the end of the day, this is, again, we come back to the slide we talked about where you work out what your organizational vision, mission, and particularly values are in this space. And if you believe, for example, that a social media platform might be harvesting your consumers' data, treating them unfairly, exploiting people through the data which goes into their feeds through algorithms, etc., then your organization is probably going to avoid or even run some kind of protest against that social platform, and work around other ways to reach your target audience to do it. And I certainly would not suggest that anybody should work in a digital space that they are uncomfortable with or they don't understand the implications of that. I think one thing for me, the privacy aspect is that's a bit of a shot duck, that particular problem, because people go, oh, my privacy's been corrupted by Facebook selling the data to whoever the English organization was. Data is moving around all over the internet, and we need to be as secure as we individually can. But I think that is not as big an issue as it was. If we found a platform is exploiting people, using our customers' details for dubious purposes, then that would be a really big ethical issue for me. And as a marketing manager, I would exclude them from our digital mix for sure if that was the case. So hopefully that's just a touch on that space, because that's a whole minefield in its own right in the current environment. Thanks. John's put up Cambridge Analytica. That's who it was. And but you use your organizational values to reflect on whether you should be into that space. And that even comes down to the kind of language you use, the tone of your posts and all that sort of stuff. That influences that. And hence the digital strategy and the digital marketing plan, if you don't have that organizational oversight to it, you might make some mistakes in that space, and you might choose incorrect platforms, not just purely because your customers aren't there, but because of their ethics. You might use incorrect language, typology, graphics, links, a whole bunch of things. So use that to help guide your decision making.
It's really interesting. Again, free content, short courses about, I guess, setting up your organization to have this, I guess, really deep look at what your values are, what your mission is, and how you want to define yourself as a company through an agile management perspective. That's what with Brent and Birchmore we did probably about 6 months ago. So if you're interested in that, go and have a look at that.
Yeah, perfect. There you go. There's another course that you could do to get yourself ahead as well.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's another completely different masters in itself, isn't it? So you could go on that for hours and weeks and months and years. Finally, we'll go with another one from Tracy. Thanks for sending questions in. Can I adapt for internal your templates for internal marketing for employee communications? I'm prepared to say you can use anything you get from our free short courses, however you like. But I'd be really interested in hearing how you think it would translate to other applications, Andrew.
Absolutely. In this case here, Tracy's talking about her target market example. So it might be a change program for an organization. They might be maybe merging, changing, restructuring, whatever. And her target market in this case is internal employees. And even amongst that internal employees or internal stakeholders, we might call them, there'll be subgroups. So there might be early adapters, there might be laggards, there might be other people that we might pull out as a particular target audience to communicate some factors of the change to. There might be other groups we have slightly different communication to because it's a little later in the life cycle. There's a range of things. So as long as you think about whoever your target market is, in this case, in Tracy's case, it would be internal employees, which might be in a single location. They might be working from home. They might be geographically dispersed. And even I suggest definitely segmenting them into different types, maybe by demographics, maybe by position, possibly, and then you have a really targeted approach and get high level of effectiveness in your communications to those groups, still using the same platform, the same framework.
Beauty. Thanks so much, Andrew. And thank you, Tracy, for sending questions. And thank you, everyone else.
Yeah, thank you.
Another interesting place you can chat about the ethics of the different platforms and what to do about that is have a good deep chat about it in the forums. That's where you can go to town, just engage, just flesh it out, thresh out the issues and go nuts with it, because we just will run out of time otherwise. Thank you so much, Andrew, for spending a bit of extra time with the Q&A.
Thanks, everyone.
That's really nice of you. Thank you, everyone, for hanging around, and thank you, Hannah. Looking forward to the next weeks. Do you have, in the slide deck, I saw that there was some extra slides about the next weeks. Do you want to signpost them, Andrew, or what are we chatting about next week?
Yep, I can just flick through that because that is just literally sitting there if you'd like to do it. So that was us tonight. So next week, the big topical areas to develop those digital tools, discussion what's about there, get in some in-depth detail about customers, understanding customers, internal, external, who the customers are, so we can then do that kind of alignment thing between digital tools and different customers. Quick chat about digital and analog integration, because nearly everybody will have other stuff going on outside of the digital space with their customers. And certainly if it was in Tracy's example about employees, then there's digital and there's offline stuff going on that as well. We need to make sure that they work well together and one thing doesn't say this and the other thing says that, because that can be problematic. And then we'll have a look at a bit of what's going to moving and shaking in the digital space. So that's for us next weekend, guys, at the 10th of November.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, everyone. Andrew, I'll leave it to you to sign off for the YouTube channel.
Perfect. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate sticking around for module 1, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you very much.